Hi everyone. Today we're talking about how to know if someone likes you. I was feeling really overwhelmed by what topic to choose for today's episode because I have a list with like 100 ideas at this point, and I decided, you know what? We got to go back to basics. We got to go back to where it all began. And for me, it began with this question. It began with the question, how do I know if a guy likes me? Back in 2010, when I started my blog, this is what turned it into a business. Like, this is what turned a little hobby into a business. There were years where if you Googled, how do I know if a guy likes me? My article would appear at the #1 spot. And so many women were searching for that we were able to turn it into a company. And even now, all these years later, if I post on Instagram or TikTok, if I post about how to know if a guy likes you, how does he feel about you, signs that he doesn't like you, viral, instantly viral, hundreds of thousands of views, sometimes even millions. It's always a guarantee. So why? What is it? What is it about this topic? What is it about this topic? I mean, I'm asking why rhetorically because I know all too well. I remember Googling signs he likes me. How do I know if he's into me? How do I know if he's serious about me? Maybe he likes me, but he's scared. All the things I remember. So I'm going to give you the signs today. I will. I'm going to give the people what they want. But we have to go deeper. We have to go deeper here. So we're gonna look at why we care so much. Why do we become fixated on certain people who are ambiguous about their level of interest in us? Why can't we just say, all right, like, he's being wishy-washy, I guess he's not into me. Why is it so hard? Why is it so hard to see? Why is it so hard to see what's right in front of us most of the time? Why do we just latch on whenever we get any whiff or glimmer of potential? And we're also going to talk about how to just be more likable, how to shift your energy so that you're naturally more attractive and capable of getting what you want. And above all, so that you just have a feeling of, I will be okay. Everything's okay. I know it feels so not okay. Like when you really like a guy and you just have no idea how he feels about you. It feels like there's so much at stake, like you can't regulate, you can't relax. So why? We're going to talk about all of it today. But first, let's start with a story. And if you don't want to hear my story, which I think that you should listen to the story, it is very relatable and we're going to refer back to it throughout the rest of this episode, but I will include a timestamp if you just want to skip ahead and go right to the science. It's fine. Won't be offended. Okay, so years ago when I was still single, I had been living on the Upper West Side in Manhattan and I was going to be moving to the Upper East Side. And I had a lot of friends in the area and everybody would like talk about this guy, okay? He was known to be super good looking, super nice, really successful, and he owned his own 1-bedroom apartment on the Upper East Side. As soon as I heard about him, I was like, okay, signed, sealed, delivered. Like, introduce me to this person so I can marry him. Granted, at this point in time, I was in my late 20s and I was ready to settle down. I had enough of dating in Manhattan, enough of like the ghosting and the situationships and the heartbreak and the disappointments and just this merry-go-round that I had been on for like almost a decade at this point. And this guy sounded wonderful. I mean, what's the problem here? So it was a few months between me hearing about him and actually getting to meet him. So I had built up this, fantasy in my mind. And when I finally met him in person, he did not disappoint. He was gorgeous and so nice, so charming, so charismatic. And it felt like we really hit it off during that first meeting. I felt the chemistry. The chemistry was chemistrying, right? There was just something in the air. He gave me his full attention. And I had mentioned to him at that point that I had just finished writing my book. I think it was He's Not That Complicated. Yeah, that at this point I finished writing my first like ebook, and he's like, "Oh, you should send it to me, and I'll let you know what I think. I'll let you know if you got it right." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." Like I smiled awkwardly, and then after he walked away, I was like, "Oh shoot! Like that was my chance. I should have asked him for his number, for his email, so I could email him, and then that would establish the lines of communication." And I was kicking myself and so mad at myself for like screwing up this opportunity with the potential love of my life. Anyway, because we had so many mutual friends, we saw each other often. So we would see each other often at birthday parties, at happy hours and gatherings, whatever. And every time it was always super flirty. And he was always really complimentary to me. He would say that I looked really pretty and I was smart and I was great. And he was so impressed by my career. And we vibed. There was a vibe. I remember one time I went to this bar and like he was like, "Hey, Sabrina," he gave me this high five and then he held his hand there and I was like, "Oh, are we like holding hands? Like this is kind of lingering a little bit long." It seemed like he really liked me. The only problem, he wasn't asking me out. He wasn't even asking for my number. Like we had literally no relationship other than time would pass. We would see each other somewhere. There would be flirty banter and then nothing after that. And I spent an embarrassing amount of time thinking about this and trying to crack this and Googling it and reading all these, so embarrassing, and reading all these ebooks about how to know if someone, I was writing content on how to know if a guy likes you and I was still confused, you guys, okay? Like I had a successful blog. This is what I did for a living and I was still reading all the things. And then this is super embarrassing. No judgment. This is a safe space. I read that like if you wear someone's favorite color, then that makes them like you more because they like associate loving the favorite color with you. And so I would wear blue a lot because it was his favorite color. Shockingly, that didn't work and didn't make him head over heels in love with me. Finally, I sent in an emissary. I sent in a mutual friend of ours. I was like, go ask him what the deal is. Like, what's the problem? So my friend went up to him and was like, dude, like, why aren't you asking Sabrina out? Like you guys would be perfect for each other. And the guy, the crush, I sound like I'm 15. The crush told him, she's really great. She's so wonderful, but like, I'm really good friends with her roommate and I don't want things to be awkward. And so, my friend reported back to me and I was like, oh, that's what it is. So I just need to show him how not awkward it would be. And I need to show him that like, I'm cool. I'm a cool girl. Like, if it doesn't work out, I can be cool. It won't be awkward. And so the next time I saw him, I made sure to mention that I actually worked with my ex-boyfriend. I mean, that's who I started the blog with. It was an ex-boyfriend. And I mentioned how, like we had this serious relationship. Now we work together. No awkwardness. I also made sure to mention to him how I stayed friends with a lot of the guys that I dated, which I did. Like, the guys were like, you have a few good dates, but like, there's nothing there. Like I would stay friendly with them. Also, like, I had an angle because I wrote about men for a living. So I would always like interview them and have them give me all their stories and whatever. So I made sure to mention that. I was like, okay, he needs to know that I'm cool and he can ask me out and there will be no problem. There will be no awkwardness. Like we'll still be able to see each other, no problems. That didn't work either. He still did not ask me out. Now, mind you, at this time, none of my friends understood this at all. I mean, granted, like he's objectively gorgeous. We all saw that. But they were all like, Sabrina, like, how do I put this nicely? He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, in the toolbox, sharpest tool in the toolbox, sharpest knife in the drawer. Like, and he was just so vanilla. Like, they were like, what are you doing? Like, you guys are not a match at all. But I didn't see it. I didn't want to hear it. I was just so consumed with trying to get this man to love me or even ask for my freaking number. Like, that's it. Okay, so then there was a birthday party and I brought a girlfriend of mine and she knew all about this like crush that I had on him. And as soon as they met, it was electric. And I saw it because I was standing right there. I witnessed the whole thing. Like he was flirting with her. And granted, I guess I didn't mention this part. Yeah, he used to flirt with me a lot, but he flirted with everyone. That was just his personality. He was a flirt. He was a flirty guy. He was unbelievably good looking. So people just couldn't help but swoon over him. Like everybody just was like that around him. And he was flirting with her, but different than how he was flirting with me. And I knew, I was a relationship coach and writer. Like I knew what was going on and it was such a pitiful feeling. So he ended up without hesitation asking for her number and asking her out. And they went on a few dates. I actually didn't even know that he asked her out. She didn't tell me till after they had been on 4 dates. So suffice it to say that friendship didn't last much longer. And it's not because she went out with him. I didn't have any claims over him. It was the behind my back part that like I wasn't okay with. If before she had said, look, like it would have hurt if she came to me and said, he asked me out. I know that like you have a crush on him. And I just want to let you know. I would have been like, fine, of course, like go out with him. Like I have zero claims. Anyway, side point. So that friendship didn't survive much longer. Anyway, they dated for a while and obviously his fears about ruining friendships were completely abated. Like she was very much in the circle and she had also recently dated his friend. Like when it came to a woman that he liked, he would just go for it. And this, my friends, is what it looks like when a guy likes you. This is what it looks like when a man really likes a woman. He doesn't come up with all these excuses as to why he can't be with her. he just goes for it. Now, what he did with me is a classic example of how a guy behaves when he's kind of interested, when he's kind of attracted, but he's not interested enough. He's not interested enough to do anything about it. And I learned this to be true because eventually he actually did become one of my closest guy friends. And we did talk about this. So I got to hear it all from the horse's mouth. And he told me, like he was very attracted to me. He's like, but we're not in that phase of life where like we just wanted casual hookups. And he knew that wasn't what I wanted. And he just didn't see it. And you want to know something? Getting to know him better and becoming friends, like I realized we are not a match at all. I just kind of fell not in love, but like infatuated with the idea of him. Anyway, him and my friend like did not end up working out. She ended up getting quite devastated. I was not happy about that. She was really hurt. I really like was the bigger person and was very supportive about it. But anyway, all's well that ends well. I'm married, he's married, she's married. No, he wasn't at her wedding, but like I was at his wedding, I was at her wedding, like they were at my wedding, all's well that ends well. Okay, great. So let's talk about the signs that a guy likes you. Number one, the body language signs, okay? He might not be saying it with his words, but you can always tell by his body language. So typically when a guy likes you, he will stare at you a lot. Men are visual. And for the men watching, this also applies in reverse. Like a woman, if she's into you, she'll also stare at you a lot. So he'll stare at you a lot. It's been scientifically proven that when a guy likes you, he'll do like the eyebrow flash. Like his eyebrows will lift if he sees you. It's just something that men reflexively do. His nostrils will flare. This is a way for him to like soak in all your yummy pheromones. His feet will be angled towards you. They'll be pointed towards you. He's not going to be angling away. He's not going to be shifting. He's totally focused on the conversation. He's fully present. He's locked in. He's loaded. He's right there. Also, another tiny little thing is his pupils will dilate. This is a tricky one. Don't make yourself nuts with this one. This one's hard to spot, but supposedly, I've never like witnessed this in real life, but if a guy likes you or if we see something we like our pupils dilate, okay? Another thing you might notice is that like he gets fidgety, like he might groom himself, like move his hair or fix his tie, and just kind of have a lot of nervous energy working through his system. Number two is he talks himself up. He wants to impress you. Although watch out for a guy who's just super arrogant and boastful. This could just indicate a potential narcissist or just a really insecure, weak egoed guy. So pay attention to what he talks to you about. Like, does he tell you about himself and his accomplishments? Does he do a little bit of humble bragging? Like, oh yeah, just like ran 8 miles this morning, whatever, no big deal. If he likes you, he will be trying to prove himself as a worthy candidate of your affections. Also, watch how he reacts when you say things. Like, does he lean in closer? Is he asking you follow-up questions, trying to learn more? When we like someone, we can't get enough. We want to know everything. Next is he touches you, not in a creepy way. Like, like in my story, when he gave me the high five that lingered a little too long. I mean, again, you can't get carried away with the signs because obviously I had yes to a lot of the signs in my story, but he didn't like me enough. So it has to be a yes to most of these things most of the time, but we'll get to the definitive ways to know. Anyway, so yeah, he wants to touch you. Like he takes a strand of hair off your sweater. The high five that lingers too long. He strokes your back when you're telling a story or you guys are sitting next to each other and his knee touches your knee. He just wants to touch you. Next is he treats you differently. We also saw this in my little story. A guy might just be a flirty guy who flirts with everyone. What? Flirting's fun, right? It's harmless. But if he likes you, he will be treating you and talking to you and flirting with you differently than how he is with everyone else. You will just be in a different category. You'll get a special smile that's reserved just for you. He will give you a special type of attention. He will just light up in a different way. It will just be different. And if you've ever been in the presence of a man who's really into a woman, you've seen it. Like I'm sure you've either experienced this or seen it yourself. Next is he gets nervous, fidgety around you. We kind of covered this in body language. He might find that like he doesn't know what to do with his hands and he's putting them in his pocket or he's crossing his arms or he just seems like uncomfortable in his own body. You also might notice he blushes a little bit, he stutters a little bit. Some of these could be signs of just a really shy guy. So especially if he's the type of guy that's not normally very shy, but around you he gets shy, then definitely into you. Next is he shows interest in your interests. He really wants to connect. He wants to know all about that last concert you went to. He wants to know all about your favorite band and why you love that band. He wants to know about your favorite songs. He wants to know your favorite color. He wants to know everything, your whole story, every scratch, every scar. We just can't get enough when we like someone. Next is he mirrors you. This is another body language tell, but typically when we like someone, and you can also use this in reverse, as I did, of course, to try to get someone to like you mirror their body language. So you cross your arms, he crosses his arms, you cross your legs, he crosses his legs. He mirrors you. This is a way to establish connection, and it's just a way of showing interest in someone else. Also, him just wanting to be in close proximity to you is another big sign. So like if you're out at a happy hour, an event, at a party, whatever, and it's a crowded room, he always manages to find his way to you, like a magnet. He just wants to be where you are. If you want to know if a guy likes you, is he where you are? Does he find himself in your orbit, within your proximity? Next is he playfully teases you. This one goes back to like elementary school when a guy pulls your pigtails and that meant that he liked you. I mean, he'll playfully tease you, but not in a mean-spirited way, in a fun, playful way. But the biggest sign of all is this. It's obvious. It's obvious. When a guy likes you, it's just obvious. He will make it known. He will ask you out. He will get your number. He will do all the things. It's just obvious. It's so obvious that it's ridiculous to even ask the question because it's obvious to you and it's obvious to everyone around you. Okay, so if it's so simple, then why is it so confusing? Why is it so confusing? Where most women get confused, me being one of them once upon a time, is in that gray zone. In the area where he shows interest, where he's clearly attracted, but nothing comes of it. And you just don't know how he feels. And it just feels very confusing to you. He seems into you. You know there was chemistry. And you're not delusional. You know it can't possibly be one-sided. And you just don't get it. So that's where you start coming up with all the excuses. Maybe he's afraid of ruining the friendship. Maybe he likes me and he's just scared. Maybe he's intimidated by me. Maybe he thinks I'll reject him and he's nervous. Maybe he just likes me so much and he knows that we would probably get married if we started dating and he's just not ready for that yet. Yes, this is coming from one of the excuses that I told myself once upon a time. I mean, have you done this before? I feel like we've all done this, but most of the time, look, possibility number one, yeah, it is absolutely possible that he likes you, just doesn't want to be in a relationship right now. That's a thing. That is mostly a guy thing. Most women are not like this. If a guy just doesn't want to be in a relationship, he just won't be in a relationship with anyone. Now, the confusing signals come in because he enjoys flirting, he enjoys connecting, he enjoys hooking up, like he enjoys all those other things. He just doesn't want a relationship. Is that possible? Yes. But it's also very possible that the reason it's so confusing is that he likes you, he just doesn't like you enough. He just doesn't like you enough to want to be in a relationship with you. I know how hard it is to hear that and to not take it personally. I know that how a lot of us interpret that is, well, I just wasn't enough. I just wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't charming enough. You have to believe me, and all my many years of experience, the fact that I've lived this and the fact that I've been helping women with their relationships for so long, it's not personal. Not everyone is a match. It's as simple as that. In relationships, we all have what we want to give and what we want to get. And if what you have to give is what the other person wants to get, and what they have to give is what you want to get, then great, it's a match. And if not, then not. And the girl that this guy, my crush, ended up with is so perfect for him. And so nothing like me. And I could so see like why that's so perfect. And my husband is so, well, my husband, I guess they're a little similar in some ways, but my husband is deep like the ocean, okay? This guy was not. He was shallow like a puddle. That was not for me. I needed somebody with more depth and we'll talk at some point more about my story with my husband. It's not personal. Please burn that into your brain. Burn it. Burn it in there right now. It's not personal. Another reason we get so confused is that we just cling on to this vision of how we want things to be rather than seeing what is. And I'm sure you saw that in the story that I told you earlier. You want a relationship with him. You want to be done with dating. You want to move on and you see the potential and you just cling to any sign that reality is as you want it to be. So you focus exclusively on like tiny pieces of the puzzle instead of putting it into the larger picture. And when looked at individually, a piece of a puzzle is completely ambiguous and you can create your own meaning. Like for me, when he held my hand in the bar and I'm like, oh my God, that means something. Or like, when I didn't ask for his email, when he said he wanted to read my book and I was like, oh my gosh, I screwed up here. No, I was just creating a narrative that fit what I wanted, which is, oh, this guy secretly likes me. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted to believe. The obsessive line of thinking is what I call playing emotional detective. We dig deep into our memories and our observations, and we go through every detail, no matter how small or insignificant, to uncover these hidden messages or these secret codes that the guy is sending. And the reality is the only thing you succeed in doing here is driving yourself crazy. It doesn't take you anywhere. It does not lead you to a good place. The problem is that it feels like we're doing something productive. When you are obsessing and analyzing, it feels like there will be some sort of payoff, like there will be a reward for all this time and energy spent attempting to figure out what's going on. There won't. There won't. You're just feeding into your fears and your insecurities. It doesn't serve you. So just remember this. Men, guys, they don't hide interest. It goes against a man's nature to see an opportunity to be with a woman that he likes and then not take it. Now, on your end, send those green signals right on over. Send the green signals, flirt, smile. You can even make a mention of like hanging out. You can even give him your number. Like you can offer that up. That's fine. But then that's it. Like you show interest. Your job, show interest. Send the green light signals. It's scary for a man. It's scary to approach a woman and risk that possible rejection. That's very scary. I couldn't imagine being a man and having to face that. So make it easy for him. Make it easy for the guys you like. If you like them, show interest without being so over the top obvious, because then that comes across as desperate. Show interest, and then that's it. That's it. If he likes you, he'll do something about it. He will. He will. When a guy likes you, you just know. I remember when I first started dating my husband, like if he ever went a bit of time without texting me back, first of all, in that relationship, it was the first time ever I didn't worry about it. I felt like with so many other guys that I was chasing, I always had this feeling like if they went a certain amount of time with you not hearing from them, I would be like, am I being ghosted? Like, it's possible I might never hear from him again. It's possible that everything is great and right on track and I have no idea. With my husband, I never felt that way. I always felt secure, like he likes me. It's obvious. We're on the same page. We want the same things. But if he did ever go a few hours without texting, he would always give me a reason why. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm at a noisy bar. I didn't feel my phone vibrating. And it's not that I ever demanded that or expected that from him. It's just that he wanted me to know you're important. You matter. He was showing me that, look, I would never read a text from you and just not answer. Like, I didn't hear my phone or I wasn't by my phone or I wanted to answer when I knew I could really focus on what you were saying. He always made sure to let me know that I was a priority. And I never, ever had to ask if he liked me. Like that just would have been absurd. And that's the thing with healthy relationships. You don't chase. You're not spending all this mental energy, like trying to figure out how he feels. Where is this going? Are we official? What are we? Where is it going? Like all of that is just a waste of time. It's just so obvious. Now, another area that trips a lot of women up is that maybe he likes them, but he says, he just needs more time to get over his divorce or his breakup, to get his finances in order, whatever the case may be. I mean, look, the majority of the time, if a guy really likes you, he's not going to risk losing you while he's getting his act together. And you should never be in a position where you're waiting on a man. I really have never seen that end well. And I've also personally experienced things like that, like situations like that, where I was making excuses for the guy. If he can't give you what you want right now, don't wait around, because what happens in the interim is you end up trying to prove yourself to this person. Okay, so instead of focusing on, does he like me? How does he feel? You know how it goes all too well. Put your focus on just liking yourself, on creating a life that you love. Put your focus onto finding happiness in your own life. And yes, I know that is so much easier said than done, but that's what makes all the difference. Instead of worrying about people liking you, just assume that they do. If you meet a guy, just assume, okay, like he probably likes me. What's not to like? I'm amazing. If he doesn't ask me out, okay, maybe he just didn't like me enough or whatever. Like, so not everyone's a match. That's okay, right? Burn that into your brain as well. Make that your mantra. Write it down. The fact is, you have to trust the timing of your life. You have to trust that things are going to unfold as they're meant to. We don't have so much control over everything in our lives. You can't control how someone else feels about you. You can't control if someone else wants to be in a relationship with you. All you can do, and the only person you can control, is you. And you need to find a way to be at peace and to accept yourself as you are and to love yourself as you are. That's what it's all about. I dated my husband in high school for a few short months. He ended it with me. I was devastated beyond repair. We didn't stay in each other's lives. And over the course of a decade, we would just weave in and out of each other's lives, like every few years. And every time I would convince myself that okay, now is the time. Like the chemistry is so palpable. He must feel it too. Like now is the time. He's going to ask me out again. And he just never would. And obviously during this time, I dated all of Manhattan. These are a lot of the stories that I share. Then I had what I call the summer of me. And if you guys want to hear more about that, I've talked about it on Instagram and on my Substack, but I'm happy to do a whole video of that here. Basically a summer where I radically transformed myself from the inside out, and then everything in my life completely transformed. I stopped with like the insecurity and the neediness and being that girl in the story from the beginning of this episode. Like I was like, I need to stop it with her. Like I need to leave her behind in high school and I need to move on to the next phase of my life. Anyway, at the end of that, I saw him again, my husband, in the park, and we reconnected. And this time I was like, I'm not going to get carried away. I'm not going to get swept away. I'm not going to be obsessed with like analyzing the signs. I'm just going to be. I'm just going to be, and I'm just going to let things unfold as they are meant to. And from date number 1, it was just so obvious that like this was it. By date number 3, he knew he wanted to marry me, but obviously we knew we had to pace ourselves. And there was just never a question. There was never a question of, does he like me? How does he feel about me? Are we going to be official? And here is something else I'll say. I feel like I've been talking about this for so long now, and that is it. After this episode, there are no more questions about, does he like me? Hopefully. I mean, that's probably not going to be the case. There's really no point in figuring out if a guy likes you if he isn't taking steps to be with you. This is another big lesson I've learned. Okay, we can analyze the signs all day, and maybe he checks yes to all the things I listed earlier, but if he doesn't want to be with you, then who cares? Who cares if he likes you if he doesn't want to be with you? Our ego cares. Our ego wants to know that he likes us because it feels good. It gives us that hit of like, I'm okay. I'm okay. That's all we want. All we want is to feel okay. You can't make someone feel a certain way. At the end of the day, you just need to trust that it will all be okay. You need to not panic in the middle of a sentence. And that's what most people do. They think, this is the way it's always been. This is how it will always be. The guys I like are never going to like me back. I'm never going to get what I want. You don't know where this is taking you. You don't know where this path is leading you. So in sum, stop asking if a guy likes you. Stop looking for the clues and signs. If you have to wonder, you have your answer. The guy likes you, it's obvious. Okay, we are done. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you can move forward from this topic, but we'll see, because it always comes up again in various forms, and it's fine. I'm happy to keep talking about it. If you found this helpful, please give this a like, please rate this episode, leave a review, and share with your friends all the things. This helps me out enormously. I want to keep pumping out amazing content for you all. In order to do that, we got to grow this channel, grow this podcast. We got to grow. So please do that to help me out. And also reach out to me with any topic suggestions, any questions. I want to start doing Q&As at the end of the episodes. So anything you want to say, you can email me, Sabrina@sabrinabendori.com. Would love to hear from you. All right, bye.